Hi everyone, this is going to be a short video showing how to replace the alternator in a 2000 Toyota Avalon. I've actually finished this job. I just wanted to put this quick intro in the beginning just with a few explanations. So this is my attempt working through replacing the alternator after watching a few YouTube videos. I couldn't find any videos that had this exact year and make of the vehicle. The ones I did find were a little bit different. And so this video is just me trying to work through this and making a few mistakes and sharing that process with you. First off, let's just go through the steps real quick, real basic. So the first thing you want to do is locate your alternator. It's this piece right here. And there's three basic steps. One is to take the belt off that drives the alternator, disconnect both of these wire connections, and undo these two bolts. And then with that you can basically slide it out. Let's go into each of these steps in more detail. The first thing you want to do actually is disconnect your negative cable to your battery. Whenever you're working with a major electrical component of your vehicle, it's always a good idea to do that. Okay, so if you're going to use a socket to undo the small bolt, it's a 10mm socket. Now the next thing I'm going to do is undo these two cables. So there's one under here where you need a wrench to get to it, and that'll use a 10mm socket. Now a lot of them may have a rubber boot. Mine actually has this hard plastic boot, and you can see I've actually broken it already trying to get it off. And I tried to search online on how to get this off, and I haven't figured it out yet, so I'll fiddle with that a little more. But this one is a lot easier. It has this rubber gasket that goes over it, and you just lift that up out of the way. And then to undo it, you're gonna push. I don't know if you can see that very well, it's in the shadows, but you'll push on this side, the side that's towards the camera. There's a little tab there. You push that in as you pull it out, and then it just comes out nice and easy like that. Now that's in the light. This is the tab that you push on as you pull it out, and it just comes out. Let's see what I can figure out for this other guy. So I did get this one off without doing too much more damage. You can see that where I broke it right there, and that's because I was coming in here with a flathead screwdriver and trying to pry it off from these ends. But what you want to do is come in right underneath these two opposite ends right there with the flathead screwdriver and gently push it out and up until it clicks off. Okay, so I've got that nut off. That's right there. I'm just going to set that to the side for a second, and then this connection just comes up and off, and then I'm going to put that nut right back on just for safekeeping. So I've got these two wire connections undone. The next thing to do is to loosen the bolts. And the first bolt you want to loosen is this one right here. This first bolt that you want to loosen is a 14mm. But before I do that, let me just quick explain exactly what's going on with this belt and how we're going to loosen it. The belt itself goes around three pulleys. So there's the pulley that we have here that goes around the alternator. Then it goes down to the drive pulley, which is down there. Let me see if I get a light on this. So down there is the drive pulley, and then it travels. So under the alternator is connects to the air conditioner. A lot of times in other vehicles, the belt will be tensioned by a tensioner, which is a separate pulley that is pushing on the belt. And then what you need to do is get a wrench and kind of rotate that pulley, and it'll disengage and loosen the belt. This one, your alternator is actually working as your tensioner, so there is no separate tensioner pulley, and that's done with these two bolts that are down there working together. So the one bolt head that you see that's facing the camera right now, that actually, as you loosen that, the alternator will pivot around this first bolt. So we'll need to loosen this first bolt and then go to these other two bolts, and we'll actually need to loosen the one that's on the side. Eventually we'll need to take that one completely out because it is holding the alternator in place. But first we'll just loosen it, and then we'll loosen this one, and as we do that, the alternator will drop, and it'll be pivoting around this bolt, and as it drops, the belt will get loose, and we'll be able to remove the belt, and then after we do that, then we'll completely remove these other two bolts. And then after that, we can simply slide the alternator out. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's my progress. I've loosened this bolt, which was 14 millimeter. I've loosened the side bolt down there, which was a 12 millimeter. And that block down there, you'll want to take note of how it's oriented, how the side bolt faces away from the alternator. And this bolt is the tensioner bolt, and you want to start loosening that. And it's a difficult bolt to get to. You can see I have my socket wrench right here, and I have two extensions on it, and that's the best way I found to get some real back and forth movement. If you're in there too close, things are just too tight and you can't really get much movement. But as you loosen it, that drives that block down, and that block has the bolt that's attached to the alternator, so it's driving the alternator down. The alternator is pivoting down. The pivot point is this bolt, so that's why that's loosened, and as it goes down, then your belt's going to get loose and you'll be able to slide it off. One tip is, before you start to loosen the belt, is just to feel how much slack there is. Mine's already loosed a little bit, but when it was tight, you can only push this down about 1/4 of an inch. You just want to take note of that, so that when you tighten it, you can get it to the same tension. Okay, so I've actually got my alternator to a place now where I can take the belt off. There's two tips that I learned. You can see my bolts right here. You can see where it was screwed into the block, because it's still shiny there, and then there's a little bit of corrosion above that. So as I go back in and I want to retension this, I can screw it to the place where that corrosion meets the block. Another thing that happened is after a while it became pretty easy to start to spin this. You see, I could just do it with my hand now, and the bolt head actually started to come up. So what I needed to do then was to stop and actually push down on my alternator to pivot the alternator around this bolt to push it down. And when I did that, then I had enough slack to get the belt off. Actually, I think I haven't actually done it yet. That might just take two hands. So let me put the camera down, and I'll get back to you. So my belt is off, and then the next step is simply completely remove this bolt, and then the bolts that is in the block right down there. And after I do that, I should be able to lift the alternator out. You want to slide it out this way first, and then hopefully be able to get it around these different hoses that are above it. So before I could pull my alternator out, there was one more little surprise. I don't know if you can see it, but here are the two wire connections, and those wire harnesses are actually taped together to a third that goes down, and there's a bracket right there that is screwed into the alternator. Here's my new alternator so you can see it better. But there is this nut right here that's holding that bracket in place right here, and the wire's coming down, held in place by the bracket. The bracket's held in place by this nut. It's an 8mm nut. Hey, here's my thumb. But anyway, it's difficult to get to. Again, you'll need just a long extension and try to get around this hose as it goes around. It's kind of in your way. Again, sorry for the shadows. I just try to undo that to get that wire out of the way. Okay, I finally got that little nut off. There's the bracket right there that was attached to the alternator. Okay, so I finally got my old alternator out and my new one in. With this model, I could not get it out with all these different hoses and wires around. So I did something stupid. It looked like the easiest one to undo would be this one, which of course is for coolant. It goes to your radiator. So I undid that and basically spilled all my coolant onto the ground. So learn from my mistake. But looking at these other ones, you know, that might just be the easiest thing to do. It's an easy hose to get off. The only problem is also, you see this area where it's still clean. There was a shield or a sleeve around here, probably as a heat protector, and now that's gone. So tomorrow I'll have to go see if I can replace this hose. Hopefully it will come with a new one of these. But besides that, I think the best bet, if you can't wiggle it past these hoses, is probably to undo this bracket right here. There's a bolt. Let's see if it'll adjust to the light if I get closer. There's a bolt down there, but it also attaches to this hard tube. This metal tube actually attaches to it as well. So you'll have to look at that and see if that's an option to undo that, and then bring your alternator out from the side. I brought it straight up from the top when I had this hose out of the way. So yeah, I don't have a good solution for that right now. If you have some way better, write that in the comments. But yeah, right now got a spill leaking all the way over there. So let me know what you find out. Basically, from this point, I have my new alternator in there. All the steps are just going to be in reverse. I'm going to first put this bracket on with that 8mm, and then put my big bolts and my little bolts in, tighten those down, just hand tight, and put my belts around. Make sure that's lined up with all the other pulleys, and then tension it with this one. Get it so it's tight enough that when you push down here, it only moves about 1/4 inch. And then tighten these down, the two mounting bolts down, all the way. Again, this is a 14, and then that's a 12 down there. And then reconnect your cables. So you have this one that is a 10mm, and then this one snaps in. And then reconnect your battery. I don't think I've forgotten anything. I think that's about it. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll come back if there's any issues, but if not, good luck. Okay, so I've got it back in place. I've got that bolt in. I wasn't able to get it very far just by hand tightening it. Had to use the socket wrench, but it's still loose. My belt is in place. You want to make sure that your belt is in place around all 3 of these pulleys. It'll probably fall off, 1 or 2 of them. So get it back in place for all of them. And then the step I'm on is putting that bolt in down there. And remember, it faces away from the alternator in the block. goes through the block, through the slot that comes up on that bracket, and then into the alternator itself, and holds it in place. Okay, so I've got my belt tensioned again that's by tightening this bolt, and I found it pretty useful just to tighten it until the bright silver on the bolt itself disappeared and went into that block, and that let me know that it was in the same position that it was when I took it out. And you just want to make sure again that your belt is going around all three pulleys. And then next thing to do would be to tighten the two mounting bolts down all the way, make your two wire connections, and then you will be done. So I'm going to test this tomorrow after I go to the shop and see if I can find a replacement for this this sleeve. Anyway, if anybody can find an easier way to take that out without making a big mess, I guess one thing I could have done was to flush all the fluid before taking this tube off. It still would have broken this sleeve that was just completely brittle. Just wiggling this a little bit caused that to crack and break. So if anybody can find a better way to get the alternator out past all these other brackets and tubes and wires, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, good luck to you, and hope you found this video useful. Okay, so it's the next day, and after sleeping on this a little bit and doing a little more research, I just wanted to come back and let's explain a little bit about what I've found out about trying to get this guy out with, we got our radiator hose, this hose, some cables going through. So what I ended up doing was undoing this and having my coolant spill all over. I still think that undoing this might be the simplest way to get your radiator out. Two issues with that, of course. First, the coolant is going to leak out. So you're going to have to flush the coolant. Maybe not flush, but just let a little bit out, at least enough so that this clears out and the top section of your radiator clears out, so that you can take this hose off without having a big spill like I did. The way you do that, you can't actually see down there. Let me get, well, maybe, coming down. So you see there's a nut there, and then there's another post that sticks out below that nut. Now that I've got a light on it down there, you can see there's a bolt, and then right underneath it there's a little peg that sticks out, but that bolt takes a 10mm socket head, and as you undo that, the peg below is actually where the coolant will drain out. You can attach a small hose to the end of that, and then have a pan or some kind of bucket down below to catch the fluid, and then you can drain your coolant. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about how to flush your coolant. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that go into that in a lot of detail. But that's what you want to do to get the coolant out of this hose so that you can get it out of the way to get your alternator out. The other thing that happened to me was this sleeve here was brittle, and just wiggling the hose a little bit caused it to break. So if you start to hear this break, go ahead and just remove it all the way so that you don't have any small pieces falling down into the engine compartment here. And the guy at the auto parts store, I went there this morning, he said that really it's there to just prevent any rubbing. And you can see I actually had a big chunk of it left, and I've attached that to the bottom of the hose with just these zip ties. And I went and bought these hose clamps to get something a little more permanent and something a little more heat resistant to hold it in place. And the guy at the auto parts store actually said that what you could use is go get a sleeve that's used for insulation on any type of other pipe, plumbing pipes, just at your hardware store. So it's not a big deal for this to break. It can be replaced pretty easily, or you can salvage an old part like I did here. One very important point if you are going to drain the coolant is to wait until the engine is completely cool, because when it is on and hot, it's under pressure and it's going to be hot liquid just spewing out and burning you if you do it right after your engine's been running and is hot. So that goes for removing this hose, or taking off your radiator cap, or draining it down there. And then one last point is the coolant that you put back into your system. Here's the owner's manual in section 8, cooling system. It holds 9 liters, and the type of coolant you want is a long life coolant with ethylene glycol. And so this is what I just happen to have and put it in. It's just the Walmart generic brand, but it is for extended life. And it does say that it is compatible with any antifreeze in any make or model. Okay, so you can see here right in the warning, it does contain the ethylene glycol that Toyota calls for. It also contains a few others, and Toyota specifically calls out do not use any alcohol type antifreeze. So this doesn't say it contains any alcohol. So that should be good, especially if you're just going to top it off like I did and not drain the whole system. So hopefully you find that helpful. That was a big learning experience for myself, and so enjoy this video. Thanks.